Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hitbullseye. So this is your daily dose of current affairs. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you receive the notifications of these videos every day when we post them. Also, thank you so much for your overwhelming response to these videos. We have been getting a lot of queries for the last few days that the students were mostly concerned about the topics which they were not able to select. So basically, students had a query that they were not able to identify the topics to leave and the topics to choose. So now this is an opportunity for you. So these are the 5 best news of the day that we choose, and we try to explain it to you in brief so that it's your daily dose of current affairs. If you haven't done anything productive for the entire day, you can be assured that if you watch this video for just 10 to 15 minutes, you can get your daily dose of essential current affairs. So let's start. Let's see what has happened on 1st of December 2021. So we'll be covering these 5 topics today. First, we'll talk about the air pollution in Delhi. And we'll not just talk about it in general terms, we'll talk about some specific pointers. Like a report has recently come out that has implicated various stakeholders for their responsibility for air pollution in and around Delhi, particularly in the entire national capital region. We'll see what those factors are, why they get aggravated during this time of the year, and why so much of politics in the northern states, especially in Punjab and Haryana, is centered around that topic. Secondly, we'll see the latest data that has been come out for the second quarter of India's gross domestic product. We'll see how India's economy is recovering post-COVID and how it is likely to continue to do so in the future. In the third news that is related to polity, it's a very interesting news because after 400 long years, yes, you heard it right, it's 400 years. After 400 years, a central Caribbean country has come out of the clutches of British rule. So we came out of it in 1947. This country, Barbados, also came out of it pretty soon, but it has recently become a republic. We'll see what the word republic means, how India became a republic in 1950, whereas it took Barbados another 71 years to do that. Next up, we'll talk about India's 5G subscriptions. So India is likely to launch 5th generation telecom services in the next couple of years. And there is a report that has come out talking about the 5G subscriptions in India in the year 2027. So we'll see a new survey report that has forecasted the number of 5G subscribers that are likely to be in India in 2027. And how does it impact the policy making and policy designing on the part of Indian policymakers. And finally, we'll talk about a very important topic that those who are preparing for law entrance exams shall also be covering it in their legal aptitude section. The government has appointed a committee to review the economically weaker sections quota, because recently the Apex Court gave a rap to the central government to ask like what is the criteria that they followed in determining the economically weaker section. So we'll talk about all these 5 things. Let's start. First up, the air pollution in Delhi. Now, you know the biggest 4 or 5 pollutants, as in the particulate matter 2.5. Then there is particulate matter 10, which we call PM10. Not the Prime Minister, it's the particulate matter. And then we have the sulfur dioxide and the nitrous oxide and the nitrogen dioxide, both the gases responsible for a phenomenon called acid rain. So these are the 4 major pollutants, and among them, the most dangerous is the particulate matter 2.5 or PM 2.5. Now, a recent study has pointed out that the high levels of pollution witnessed in Delhi in the month of November, 48% of that was because of stubble burning in Punjab, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh. So there was a lot of politics going on because of this. Basically, there was mudslinging. There were, politicians blaming each other and chief ministers blaming each other for this particular thing. But now we have a scientific study backing the claim that actually 48% of that was due to stubble burning. And also some of it a few percentage points because of Deepavali and the crack burning. So this problem is not new. It happens every year around the same time. And although it doesn't become a significant proportion of Delhi's pollution boost in the entire year, if we take that for example, but in these particular 2 months, in October, November, this becomes the major source of pollution. And there are two basic, you can say, two basic time periods in which this pollution accentuates a lot. One period we have seen from October to November, the major cause of which is stubble burning, because it's a seasonal activity. The farmers don't burn stubble for the whole of year, it's just only these 2 months. And then there are December, January months, in which again we see a spike in, you can say, the pollution levels. But the reason for that is not actually stubble burning. The reason is geographical, basically. So at that time of the year, the westerlies reverse their wind direction. So the winds are not blowing from west to east. At that time, actually, the winds start blowing from east to west. So the winds start blowing from the Indo-Gangetic region, that is from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, towards NCR. And we know there are a lot of thermal power plants, there are a lot of industries in there. So the pollution coming out of those industries gets accumulated around North India or National Capital Region. Second major reason at that time is because the air is really heavy and the circulation is somewhat juxtaposed in a very small area. So these two factors combined increase the pollution level in and around Delhi in the months of December and January. So that's a different matter. That is not something that is seasonal. It is something, the pollution is there for the entire year. But what has caused concern is something that can be controlled, and that is stubble burning. And hence all the hullabaloo around that particular thing. So now we know that 48%, or you can say half of the pollution during October and November is because of indeed the stubble burning in the states of Punjab and Haryana. And fun fact, during this time, Delhi government has actually devised a plan of step-by-step closure of industry, step-by-step restrictions on civilian movements. For example, the odd-even rule. Then we have a ban on construction activity. We have water sprayers, spraying water on the streets of Delhi, on the trees, because trees have this quality of soaking up all the carbon and all the dust. So that thing is called GRAP, or Graded Response Action Plan. So it was in news. The Supreme Court rapped the Delhi government for not implementing GRAP in the nick of time. Right? So Graded Response Action Plan is something that is associated with controlling pollution levels in Delhi. That's all you need to know about in this news. Secondly, very important from economic point of view, India's GDP growth is finally bouncing back. As I already told you in a previous video, we have seen an uptick in the GST collection. We have seen an uptick in the core sector industries. We have seen an uptick in the industrial data, the index of industrial production. And finally, we have also seen an increase in electricity consumption, which is one of the most important criteria for measuring the economic growth of a country. And finally, now the data is out for the second quarter of this financial year. That is from 1st of July to 30th of September 2021. The GDP growth is 8.4%. That is plus 8.4%, because last year in this quarter, we had seen a minus 7.4%. Yes, it was a minus 7.4. But it was a very unusual time. It was just the aftermath of the lockdowns that India was experiencing. So the economy actually contracted in last year. But this year, it has been going on really well. And most of the credit rating agencies have forecasted, including World Bank, they have forecasted India's economy to grow by 9 to 10% in this financial year. So there are certain problematic indicators in this data as well. That is, the private consumption expenditure is not going up. That means people do not have much money to spend. For example, the automobile sales are not picking up. Then the gold sales are not picking up. Sure, October and November have been exceptional months, but that is because of the sentimental value of gold that Indians attach and due to the festive season and the wedding season. But that is not something that economists consider as a normal behavior. That is something in which years of savings that the Indian households are very famous for, collecting, it goes. So it's not something that is usual. So that data is not collected because it disturbs the average data. Having said that, the overall consumer sentiment has not gone to the pre-COVID levels. The pre-COVID level is something that the day we achieve that, we can say that the recovery period is almost complete. But since we have not gotten to that level, we haven't yet reached the recovery period. Nonetheless, the recovery is going really well, and we should not decry the progress that has been made in the last 1 year. So it's a good sign for Indian economy, and finally it is bouncing back. Next up, Barbados. So you can see the map of Barbados here. So this is the Caribbean Sea. This up here is North America. This is United States of America. And this down here is the South American continent. So in between here, you have the Caribbean Sea. And here you have a very small island nation called Barbados, with Bridgetown as its capital. So we haven't heard about Barbados much. It's not a very significant player in the world politics or world economy, but it is making news because it has become the world's newest republic. Now, when we use the word republic, what does it actually mean? Sometimes we may tend to use this word as as a layman's term that, okay, India is a republic. But can we call every country a republic? No, not exactly. We cannot call Great Britain a republic, We cannot call England a republic, because a republic means where the head of the state is elected. Now in India, who is the head of the state? It's of course the President of India. So the President of India is elected. But in England, the Queen is the head of state, and Queen is not elected. Queen is a hereditary office. So Queen's son will become the king. Then his wife will become the next queen. So it is in the family line. So it is not republic in England, but in India, it is a republic. So the next president is going to be elected just like his predecessor. So that is a country that we call republic, where the head of the state is elected. Now, Barbados is going to have an elected president, and the first one is Dame Sandra Prunella Mason. So she is the first president of the country, but till now they were considering the Queen of England as their honorary head of state, which is a practice most of the Commonwealth countries have been following. But now they have denounced this practice, and now they have appointed their own elected head of state, hence becoming a republic. If we talk about India, India was very clear from the start when we got independence in 1947 that we are going to be a republic from the day go. So the day Indian Constitution was implemented on 26th of January 1950, we proclaimed ourselves as a republic. So on that very day, the first president of India, that is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, was elected, and it became an elected office from day one. So we did not wait for us to become a republic. We were very clear that we wanted our highest office to be elected from day one. And now Barbados is a part of the list. Next, India has a report on 5G subscriptions, which has been released by Ericsson Mobility. So according to the Ericsson Mobility report, by 2027, around 50 crore subscribers in India will be using 5G network. And 5G, or fifth generation telecom service, is going to provide really, really high speed internet facility that is upwards of 1 Gbps, that is 1 gigabits per second. Right now, we are talking about the Mbps in 4G technology, but in 5G, the speeds will be to the north of 1 Gbps, which is insanely high speed, which will totally do away with processing and buffering, as you call it. And according to this report, as of now, India has 810 million smartphone subscribers. That means right now in India, more than 80 crore people are using smartphones. But by 2027, this number is expected to go even higher. And at that time, around 1.2 billion people shall be using the smartphones, which will be more than 80% of the population of India at that time. So this is a really, you can say, it's an empowering report, because smartphones actually mean the government's agenda of sending mobile technology and sending e-governance to each and every household and each and every individual. So the day that target is met, India will, India will be able to bridge the gap between the digital haves and the digital have-nots. So this is an encouraging report for India, and India should continue to strive for 100% digital adoption. And finally, the government has appointed a panel to review economically weaker sections quota, which has been appointed by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. So we know that by the 103rd Constitutional Amendment in 2019, the government had introduced a new quota in education and jobs, that is economically weaker sections, or EWS quota, with 10% reservation. But the criteria adopted by the government was 8 lakh rupees annual income. So any family whose combined collective annual income is less than 8 lakh rupees and was not in any other category could file for an income certificate and apply under the EWS quota. But the Supreme Court observed last month that how did the government arrive at this particular figure of 8 lakh rupees? So it reprimanded the government, and now the government has been forced to appoint this panel that includes former Finance Secretary Ajay Bhushan Pandey, then ICSSR, or Indian Council of Social Science Research Secretary VK Malhotra, and Principal Economic Advisor to Government Sanjeev Sanyal, which are mostly, all three are IAS officers. One is a specialist in the field of economics, two actually are experts in the field of economics, and one in the field of social science research. The idea is to come up with a more rational figure after studying all the data sets that the government compiles, so that a very rational and justifiable figure can be reached, which the government can then use to implement the EWS quota, so that the deserving deserving are not left out, and the non-deserving do not end up getting the benefit of it. So the government has taken time for 1 month, in which the committee will submit its report, and the government will submit that report to the Supreme Court. And it remains to be seen whether the Supreme Court strikes down the quota. And if it does, what will happen to those who have been admitted or who have joined in their new jobs in the last 2 years, since when this quota has been implemented? So that remains to be seen, and that remains a really good point of study for those who are preparing for law entrance exams as well. So that is all we had to discuss today, these 5 important news which you could not afford to miss. If you really like this video, if you think this video added some value to your day, please give a thumbs up to this, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends so that the message can spread and you end up getting a daily dose of your current affairs. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.